All right. Welcome back to the channel. Andre Ward is getting a lot of heat for his call of the fight that took place this weekend between Jose Ramirez and Victor Postol. And a UK champion by the name of Josh Taylor puts his foot firmly in the back of his throat, talking about Andre Ward and saying that Andre Ward don't know ish. Josh Taylor, dude, you got to stop listening to people around you, dummy. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Jose Ramirez this weekend beat Victor Postol to retain his WBC and WBO 140-pound titles in a good fight that some people thought Victor Postol won. I don't see how people thought Victor Postol won the fight. I think that it was a very close fight, but I thought that that was the right decision. I thought that Jose Ramirez won the fight. Jose Ramirez didn't look the best. Victor Postol, it was fighting in a manner where Victor Postol didn't want to get knocked out. And he didn't. Victor Postol was throwing jabs and light right hands, and he was never really trying to engage with them, but he was scoring points kind of like an amateur fight. And just by tipping him, like just touching the tip of his nose with straight right hands, weren't really laying into him. The bigger shots were coming from Jose Ramirez. But if you were one of the people that thought Jose Ramirez was exposed in that fight, I could understand why you would say that. However, I just don't see why people say how they would have scored the fight for Victor Postol. But good fight, right? Now, Andre Ward, who is former 168-pound champion, former 175-pound champion, the best guy to be at 175 pounds this century, best guy to be at 168 pounds this century, monster in the ring, okay? One of the best fighters you will ever be lucky, enough to see in your life, Andre Ward, despite the fact that mainstream media never promoted him like the great fighter that he is. His skill kept him right there. Won an Olympic gold medal, never lost a fight since the age of 12 years old. Olympic gold medal in a weight class, by the way, higher than he usually fights. Moved up in weight for the Olympics so Andre Dirrell could fight at his weight class. You don't get much better than Andre Ward. Andre Ward I say all that to say that Andre Ward knows a thing or two about boxing. Just a few things. So, but like everybody else, myself included, you included, he's human. So he was calling the fight, and I don't usually listen to all of the calls from ESPN, but this particular fight, ain't that lucky. On the phone, in the live stream, and not the live stream, doing the video, my phone goes off. Didn't turn it off, but it'll be what it is. So, Andre Ward is human. He is saying he and Tim Bradley have a bit of an argument. I think it was around round 4 or 5, where Andre Ward because Andre Ward was the guy doing the ongoing scorecard. I think he gave rounds after 4, going into the 5th. I think he had it 3-1 for Postol. And after the 5th, I think he had it 4-1 against Victor Postol. Well, in that particular period of time, I could see why people were upset with the way that he was scoring the fight, because while he was talking, it was obvious that Victor Postol was landing straight jabs, landing jabs down the middle, and straight right hands right behind it, and he was doing it consistently while Andre Ward was talking about the fight, right? Talking about and giving Ramirez credit for being ahead of the fight, right? So for a second, it just seemed like Andre Ward wasn't even his play-by-play was behind what was actually happening in the ring. But that's not unusual. Which is why, in my opinion, you should just talk about the fight, but not talk about the fight and score the fight. Because while you're talking, your mind cannot process what you're seeing while you're talking. Because you would have to literally cut what you're saying off, and then, to take into account the fact that this guy's landing punches. So it would wind up just being a play-by-play. At least that's the way that I see it. So it just seemed to me like Andre Ward had some notes that he was working off, and he just got a little bit behind. He just got looked like he just got a little bit behind. However, and he started arguing with Tim Bradley. But as the fight went on, and you looked at his card, you see that he gave the majority of the second half of the fight, definitely the last 4 or 5 rounds, to Victor Postol. So he clearly identified that Victor Postol was performing well, even though he wasn't necessarily giving the dude credit out of his mouth. And I don't think that was anything like, it's not like a Paulie Malignaggi situation where Paulie Malignaggi is just rooting against Deontay Wilder, and it's obvious, right? This is just a case, I thought, where Andre Ward, was just a little bit behind the call. Now, Josh Taylor, on the other hand, comes out and says, I can only assume he's talking about the fight, right? That Andre Ward doesn't know SHIT. I was like, whoa, Josh Taylor, you're saying that let me check this, Mr. Taylor, because Josh Taylor's an idiot, okay? He's an idiot. I have now had enough experience with him personally and watching what he does that he is one of these, dude, this dude is a Tony Bellew. He's a Tony Bellew, Billy Joe Saunders, Dillian White type of smack talker, dude. The cat that he just says stuff without thinking about it, right? So he says that Andre Ward don't know ish, right? But you know what Josh Taylor missed? That Andre Ward, in the middle of that fight, and I have it in my notes, so unless he said something different after the fact, Andre Ward picked Josh Taylor to beat Jose Ramirez. Andre Ward picked, let me say this again, Josh Taylor, dummy. The guy that you said don't know ish picked you to beat Jose Ramirez. So why would you attack a guy that was supporting you? Josh, shut up, man. I was just like, I was amazed when I saw it, because I was like, hold on. What is he talking about? What do you mean he doesn't? Josh Taylor is saying that Andre Ward doesn't know ish? Did he change his prediction or something for the fight? And I was like, or did I miss something? And I go to my notes and I'm like, let me look at my notes for the fight. I know I made notes about what I wanted to talk about after the fight. And there was a note that says right here, that's my note right here. It says, wow, Andre Ward picks Josh Taylor to beat Jose Ramirez. So I'm like, okay, I don't have access to the film. I know he said it. Why would Josh Taylor be insulting a guy that supports him? Well, Mr. UK boxing fan, let me tell you, man, this is becoming like, I don't know if that is just like and somebody has to help me with this in the comment section. Is being the type of humor and kind of snarky, petty, childish insults and piling on that people and exaggerations that Tony Bellew does, that Dillian White does, that Billy Joe Saunders does, and Josh Taylor is now beginning to do on a much more frequent basis. This is also the same Josh Taylor, by the way, that snapped off and went off on on an Asian guy and called him orange and insulted him all kind of ways and actually had to plead guilty to that type of harassment, right? So this guy's clearly, dude, I mean, I don't understand what it is about those guys, man. I don't know. Do you guys have a chip on your shoulder about Americans? Because I know, like, the UK is a great boxing community. It really is very, very active. You have a very, very good domestic scene. From my understanding, their domestic scene is one where fighters can actually earn a living fighting on a domestic level. Where in the United States, we don't have a domestic level. I mean, I guess we have a club level. We got like a club level, and then we have an international level, and there's dang near no in between, right? Many of the non-title fights that take place in the United States are international fights, right? So, I just don't get it, man. Like, why do you cut off your nose to spite your face, man? Well, why? For Josh Taylor to insult somebody that just straight up supported him, right? And to tell him he don't know anything. It's just, hey, man, maybe you guys just got a lot of jerks over there, man. They pick up the sport of boxing, but there's something going on, dude, that just got people saying stuff that's ridiculous. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Like and share the videos. If you're not subscribed, subscribe and hit the bell icon. And you're gonna have to select all notifications if you hit the notification button, because the middle one is like custom. You get them every once in a while. So you have to actually select the one above and to get all of them. Thank you guys so much for coming to the channel again. I'll catch you guys on the next one. And with that, I'm out.